in the throes of the Prince Andrew case. So she has made accusations of Prince Andrew. And so yeah, do you want to lay out for us like how that case is unfolded, like why now, and what she has alleged, and how she's been able to like serve him with papers basically in the state of New
Yeah.
York.
So her attorney, David Boies, who interestingly enough was also connected with Harvey Weinstein, but in that case, he was helping Harvey Weinstein with Virginia Giuffre. He is helping her. Um, he attempted to settle the case and contacted Prince Andrew for 5 years, as you and I discussed during our last podcast in August. And Prince Andrew pretty much ignored David Boies' letters, and just like he ignored the FBI wanting him to come and talk. And even when he was on the BBC interview, if you recall, he said, "Oh, I'm happy to help," but he's a lot of talk and no action, because he never really cooperated with anyone with any investigation. And pretty much he did the same thing with David Boies. So the statute of limitations under the Child Victims Crime Act, which is how Virginia was able to bring a civil action against Prince Andrew, was coming to a close a few months ago. So it was either sue him on a civil level, or forget about it forever. So wanting to hold these very powerful men responsible, it was not her first choice, because look, she had already sued Ghislaine Maxwell in 2015. She had sued Jeffrey Epstein in I believe it began in 2008, and then it was settled in 2009. I mean, she has had a lot on her plate, and she is a mother and she's a wife, and it's a lot again to take on these very powerful people. So she decided, I'm going to do it. They did, as you know. Prince Andrew tried everything. Oh, he wasn't served. Oh, they had to do it again. He ended up hiring this attorney by the name of Andrew. I have his name here, Andrew Brettler, who oddly enough also represents Armie Hammer. And Armie Hammer was accused of cannibalism. An interesting choice for an attorney. Finally, the attorney wrote a letter to the court, and they said, well, I'm representing, he's based in Los Angeles. I'm representing Prince Andrew. We weren't served. So the court allowed David Boies to serve him again. And this time, pictures of everything being served were taken, and social media shared them, as did mainstream media. What's an interesting point that I don't want to leave out is that Andrew Brettler was one of the people that David Boies emailed with the initial documents for, to let him know that Prince Andrew was being sued. So it was, again, a delay tactic. So ultimately they responded, and they requested a three-week extension to respond. And the court granted them the 3-week extension. And as you know, they just responded about, a week ago, something like that. And
5 days,
oh
I
boy,
think, 4 or 5 days.
Yes. And this guy, Brettler, pretty much, and Prince Andrew have received nothing but a big blowback. To me, it's similar to Prince Andrew on BBC, because in these documents that they submitted to the court, they included a 2015 article that calls Virginia, let me just find the term because I want to use the exact term, that a money-hungry sex kitten.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh.
And that she's only doing this for money, and so on and so forth. And why do they need to come after Andrew? And because the whole, it's just, so that alone has created, I mean, as you know, I set up a an open letter to Judge Kaplan, who was presiding over the case, saying, hey, hold them accountable because you can't just keep letting these men get away with things. Hold them accountable because we believe Virginia. Now, Virginia has alleged that it didn't just happen one time. It happened 3 times. So in the UK, it happened. We have a photograph of that's very well known that Virginia provided to the FBI of Prince Andrew with his arm around then 17-year-old Virginia Giuffre with Ghislaine Maxwell in the background. And you remember that photograph, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I've got it here actually.
Yeah. And so Virginia says that it was that day that the first, let's say, time that she was told to please him in that way happened. The second time was in New York City, in Epstein's mansion on the Upper East Side, the largest mansion in all of New York, given to him by Leslie Wexner. And that's the jurisdiction under which she was able to sue him. And the third time was in the Virgin Island area, Little St. James, which was known as Orgy Island, where Virginia alleges it wasn't just her, it was her and 8 other minors, but these were from other countries, so they spoke no English. And whereupon they took, it was a group situation, if you follow my, So, but she could only, the statute of limitations allowed her to sue him with a civil lawsuit in New York City, which is what she did. So that's where we are now.
Yeah. So Prince Andrew has responded quite spectacularly, actually. Yeah. So he called her a money-hungry sex kitten, and has basically gone with attempting to defame her. He's also request the dismissal of the lawsuit based on the fact that there was already a case made against
Yes.
Epstein, I believe, as well. So, which seems, given that case was dismissed, it doesn't seem like grounds for dismissal of this case.
Well, let me explain that, if I may.
Yeah, please.
In 2009, Jeffrey Epstein settled the lawsuit that Virginia brought against him. One of the, let's say, in that lawsuit, a paragraph read something like, okay, you're going to accept this amount of money. We're going to settle this lawsuit. It means that if you accept this, you cannot sue me anymore. You cannot sue my attorneys. You cannot sue my friends. You cannot sue my employees. You may not sue my business associates. And so Alan Dershowitz, who is also someone that Virginia alleges was inappropriate with her at the request of Jeffrey Epstein, she sued him, if you recall, for, I think, again, it was a defamation lawsuit, because it happened during the filming of Filthy Rich, which, again, is a very bizarre thing because James Patterson wrote the book, but James Patterson has also worked with Bill Clinton, and Bill Clinton flew on the Lolita Express 26, 27 times, and very close with Prince Andrew and very close with Jeffrey Epstein. But here we have James Patterson, writing the book, and then this film is made of. So Alan Dershowitz, while the filming of that, gave an interview and said, well, she should sue me if she feels that I did that, but I did no such thing. I kept my underwear on. I had a massage by a very old lady. It's like, okay, so Virginia turns around and she sues him. What does he do? He turns around and he's done this for other interesting people, right? So some of his clientele include the infamous O.J. Simpson, accused of murdering his ex-wife, Nicole Simpson, and her friend in a savage thing that happened in Los Angeles. Von Bulow, accused of trying to kill his wife. I mean, he's represented a lot of nefarious characters. So he presents David Boies with the situation that, hey, I'm Jeffrey Epstein's attorney. In this settlement, it says she signed away her rights to sue me, an attorney of, and guess what? David Boies let him have that out. Then Alan Dershowitz contacts Prince Andrew, and he tells Prince Andrew, hey, I just got out of my lawsuit, and I believe it happened in August of this year. And you can use the same strategy. And that is exactly what they did. They used that same strategy, and that is where we are, So they're saying you can't sue because she signed away her rights to sue Prince Andrew when she signed that 2009 agreement. Now, tell me something, Josh. I mean, if you're an innocent man, do you use that out, or do you try to prove your innocence in court?
Well, I mean, you'd like to think he would do it in court. But
Yeah.
I'm really confused as to how it's just like, I don't understand how Prince Andrew thinks he can get away with it based on this. Because, like, I understand. Like, I still, like, morally, I don't agree, but legally, I can see how Alan Dershowitz could get away with this in this case because, he's actually named in the previous lawsuit. But I don't think Prince Andrew wasn't mentioned in that original case, the civil case. Or was it a civil case? I think it was a civil case.
Yes.
But Prince Andrew wasn't mentioned in that, was he?
No. What her attorney is claiming is that in Virginia Giuffre's statement during the time that she was suing Epstein before they settled the lawsuit, that she mentioned that she had been abused privately, in that way, by Jeffrey Epstein's friends, which included royalty. So the attorney claims that that would imply that the agreement would include Prince Andrew, although it doesn't name him. That said, David Boies, and I think that the person who's really representing Virginia in court is his associate, a Sigrid Macaulay. I don't have her name in front of me, but I know her first name is Sigrid. Their position is Prince Andrew was not named, like as you said, specifically, he was not named. But then we have to look back at when Jeffrey Epstein received that very notorious and now infamous non-prosecution agreement, which had the following words, and I don't think I have them exactly, but more or less it was that other people that were connected as co-conspirators, named or unnamed, would not be persecuted, right? That this was a complete waiver of persons named or unnamed. So this is sort of a throwback to that, right? So that you have Prince Andrew, who was not specifically named, but who was seeking an out pretty much because there's like a reference that if you knew Jeffrey Epstein, you can't really be sued.
Right. Okay, so I'm looking at this thing right now on the New York Post. Hang on, let me pull it up just for you.
Yep.
Can you see that?
I can see it.
Oh,
Yep.
lovely. Okay, I haven't turned that bit off yet. That's good. So essentially, I'm looking at this, and it's saying that this was also okayed by top DOJ officials, which is
Yes.
very, very interesting. But so essentially, they're saying that I was trying to find that phrase that you had mentioned there. So it's like all co-conspirators. Oh, here it isn't. Under well-established principles of general contract law, and particularly under the law relating to non-prosecution agreements, any and all of Epstein's potential co-conspirators are third-party beneficiaries of the non-prosecution agreement. So basically, they're saying that anyone vaguely involved in that case can't be prosecuted now.
That's what happened with the non-prosecution agreement that Jeffrey Epstein got, which, frankly, every attorney, like, so I've read and heard from hundreds of attorneys everywhere, including attorneys in Florida, because Alex Acosta gave it back to the local level to handle. Every attorney has basically said, that's never happened before. This is a 1 in a million. This is a one-off. And so we don't understand how they allowed something like this to go through. Well, it's easy to understand if we look at it in the context that he was an intelligence asset, as Alexander Acosta so famously said. I was told to back off, that Epstein belonged to intelligence. And so if you look at it from that way, they're going to back off because we have, maybe another country involved, maybe our CIA with Mossad, who knows, maybe MI5, MI6 are involved. Who knows? But this is clearly an intelligence operation, and no one believed that Epstein would surface again and be rearrested in 2019. They believed, okay, slap on the wrist. Case is going to go away. And this was way before the Me Too movement. So if you recall, any story that one read at the time trashed the victims. That was the mentality of just make the victims all be thought of as liars. Now, these were children, liars, prostitutes, right? Drug addicts. These were children who were the victims, and they turned it around and made the victims the offenders, which is shocking. But after the Me Too movement, and more so today, after the Jeffrey Epstein case came to light, the public, because there's so many women who have been sexually abused by someone in a position of power, or maybe, when they were children, or even men when they were children. And we have the Catholic Church as a good example, right? People are stepping forward by the droves. I mean, like you see social media. So the tide has turned where for Prince Andrew to now try to victim shame Virginia has now had serious ramifications on, he will never recover reputationally. No matter what happens, he will never recover from this.
Yeah, I mean, his reputation has definitely been trashed, well and truly.
Forever.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
For good reason. I don't say that like it's a bad thing. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment for us in the comments below. Let me know what you thought and if you'd like to see more of this from the show. Thank you, and we'll see you again next time.